Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Profitable Mindset Podcast.
Welcome to the Profitable Mindset, a show dedicated to teaching you the skills you need to build a profitable product-based business that makes you feel free and fully in control. Here is your host, Charlotte Smith.
Hey, you guys, welcome to episode number 37, the two biggest reasons businesses fail. Now, this episode is the first in a new series I'm going to run this summer, all about starting and running your business. And really, it's for business owners, no matter what level you're at, whether you're brand new and just starting out, or maybe you've been at it for years and you want to become more sustainable or profitable, or you want to expand and grow. So this series will help all of you. And I'm really excited to share this because I just want to help every way I can assure that you're doing all you can to stay in business, which of course means you got to make some money, because you've probably heard me quote the USDA statistics that 80% of all farm businesses are done for and throw in the towel by year 2, and 98% are out of business by year 5. Now, those stats, interestingly enough, are aligned with all small business failure rate stats. So no matter what business you start, there is a sense of urgency for you to find out what you need to do to make sure you stay in business, So let's keep you in business for the long run. How can you be sustainable and profitable so you're around 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Because when you start a business and then you close it up, you lose a lot of money too. So let's not do that. Let's try to avoid that. Okay, so the two big reasons businesses go under is, number one, they don't have the formula for running a business properly, which I help you with daily, whether it's in my podcast or in my classes with all the students or in my emails, even in my groups. Okay, so we're talking business strategy everywhere. And number two, they don't know how to manage their mind, because business management is mind management. Okay, so your business will only be successful to the extent that you've got your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your beliefs, your behaviors, all completely aligned and working in your favor. You can use willpower at first. It might get you through the first couple years, but if you don't get everything aligned, you will exhaust yourself, if not bankrupt yourself, okay, and your bank account. So you will need to develop exquisite mind management to build long-term success, which includes profitability, sustainability, and you got to feel good doing it. A lot of people go out of business just because it's an unsustainable lifestyle they've created for themselves. It's too stressful. So mind management is the key here. And you can build a business, like I said, out of willpower that makes some money. But if you don't learn how to manage your mind long term, you will only stay at that level, or it will be miserable, or you could end up making yourself sick. So if you don't work on your mindset, I just have so much evidence over the last decade that is a quick ticket to going under. Okay, so stay tuned. If you want to know the formula for running a business properly, you don't want to miss any of these upcoming episodes this summer. Now, to start, you got to know, if you don't already, that running a business is hard work mentally. And guess what? Your brain is not wired to like hard work. It's actually wired, the way our brains are wired, tell you to avoid hard work. So the moment you think building your business, whatever it is you're working on, might be too hard, you'll want to quit. And then if you look around you, you will find so much evidence you should quit. So this is right. It's easier to go out of business than to stay in business. You just got to know that. So it's really important for you to understand that your brain is wired to give up when things get difficult or challenging. Isn't that crazy? It explains a lot, doesn't it? So just know that it is normal that you feel like giving up half the time. It's not because it's not going to work out or you went down the wrong path and you need to find an easier path. I can tell you this, there is no easier path to starting a business. And since this is what your brain is wired to tell you to do, in order to start and run a business, you got to be able to manage that part of your brain that's telling you to go out of business. You got to manage your thinking so that you're not giving in to that part of your brain that's constantly saying, give up, just quit, it's too hard. And I know without a doubt, because I've been in business for decades for myself, and because of all the people I've worked with in this area, the only reason I'm still here this many years and even decades later running a business is only because I didn't give up when it got hard. That's it. I was not any smarter than anyone else. I wasn't born into money. I didn't inherit money or land. I don't have amazing connections. I don't know fancy people or anything that can give me a leg up or open a door. It is only because I didn't give up when things got hard that I'm still here this many years later. And did I want to give up? Heck yeah. That's what I'm telling you here. Your brain is telling you to quit and give up when things get hard just because that's how your brain is set up. And also notice, if you find yourself looking around and saying, oh, well, that person's still in business because they live in a better location, or because that person over there inherited land or money, or they're still in business because they know the right people, or maybe they got on the front page of the newspaper. That's why they were able to be successful. If you find yourself looking around and telling yourself those things, you're then telling yourself a story that will actually make it easy for you to quit. Then it's really easy for you to give up and quit if you think someone else has something that you don't. And then you'll even find yourself justifying it to others. Like, oh, I didn't have the money that that person had. I didn't have the connections and I didn't have doors open for me like that person over there. So that's why I had to quit. But please know, creating and building a successful business is not about anything outside of you that someone else might have, but you don't. And in my decade of consulting and coaching busy women running businesses, the same failure rate applies to those of us, or not us, because I'm not in that crowd, those who come into this business with a lot of money or those who don't have any money. Same failure rate. And those people who have great connections or live in the right location, and those who live in a so-called worse location or don't have any connections, the failure rate of their businesses is still the same. And actually, what I've noticed is money can sometimes be deceptive and prohibitive to your success. I will see people who start a business, and since they have a lot of money to start with, or they're pumping a lot of money in from their day job, they continue not learning these things I'm teaching you here today because they feel this false sense of security, of success, because they aren't struggling financially. So without the sense of urgency to figure out the skills I'm teaching you here on this episode today, they just give up, blaming something else for their failure, not realizing it was 100% within their control if they'd learned how to manage their minds. So having money or connections might make some things easier up front. But if the people doing this don't learn how to manage their minds, which most people don't, otherwise the failure rate wouldn't be so high, and also because it's something we're not taught in school, then what you will find is they will end up going out of business. So there's only one way to prevent that, and that is to learn how to think successfully and how to manage the part of your brain that is wired to tell you to quit when things get hard, because it will. All right, so just know that there's nothing outside of you that will make you succeed in business. And if your thinking is that, oh, this should be easier, or there's something I'm missing, or there's something that someone else has that I don't have, like maybe the right marketing plan or business plan or just the right consultant, then that's making you think you'll struggle. But I'm telling you, if you want to succeed, everything you have and need to succeed is in your mind. That's it. You got to learn to manage your mind. This is my life's work, and I love it so much. I love watching my clients' lives change immensely when they learn to intentionally create the life and business they want, finally. And like I said, there's nowhere in school or in our education system that you learn this. So you find yourself as an adult wondering why things aren't working out for you. Well, it's time you got to learn these lessons. You're going to have to look outside of our educational systems, traditional systems, to learn these things. That's why I do what I do. And here's what I know from decades of running my own business while having a family and a life. It is hard. It's the biggest challenge I've ever done. And I wasn't born knowing how to do this. None of us are. And in years past, I did run myself into the ground. I did exhaust myself. I was so stressed, full of doubt, frustration. I thought often about quitting. I thought that was the only way out. I thought there was no hope for a better life. So I knew I had to get help years ago, and I knew I had to figure out how to manage that constant looping of negative thoughts, stressful thoughts, anxiety, or doubt. I remember thinking, is this all there is? I wake up, I sit in doubt and anxiety and stress all day long, and then I go to bed, and then I wake up and do it again the next day. So what I figured out, though, and this was probably about 5 or 6 years ago, is if I wanted to live the life I was committed to, I could see little glimpses of a fulfilling life. And I knew this was the challenge I had to take on learning. If I wanted to embrace that fulfilling life that I knew I could, if I figured it all out and really live it, things like, why did we have this beautiful property out in the country if we weren't able to enjoy it because we were just working long, long hours? We weren't sitting out in the garden on the back deck enjoying dinner. We were grabbing something on the run so we could get back to work. And I knew that I needed to figure something out before I made myself sick or before I threw in the towel, really. So anyway, I didn't change anything about my business except my thinking. And the first thing I learned in managing my brain is that our brain is wired to see the negative. So no wonder all I saw were the problems in my business and in our life and in myself. All right, therefore, since I was able to learn this and get some training in this, let me help you. First of all, you got to know you don't change your brain overnight because, again, it's wired this way and you've spent a lifetime practicing the way you think till now. So it's work that takes time, but when you take the time to do it, you'll start living a super sustainable life. You'll get to where you love waking up every day. You'll learn to love challenges. And for me, challenges, especially those when they're really huge problems or I have a lot of challenges right in a row, like I think, why is this happening to me day after day? It no longer makes me think I should give up or that something's gone wrong. Now I've come to realize every day without a doubt that challenges and hard things mean that everything's working exactly as it's supposed to. So when I learn to manage my mind and expect difficult things and even welcome difficult things, like even welcome big, hard, tragic things in my business, when I learn to respond with thoughts like, oh, of course this is happening to me because I've chosen to create a business. When I learn to think of it that way, like this is happening and I need to run toward it and embrace it, then what happens is the marketing strategy I teach or the business planning I teach or the time management strategies I teach all start to work with great ease and you have great success. Okay? They work when you manage your thinking and they don't work when you don't think they'll work. So you can learn those how-tos all day long, But if you don't learn how to manage your thinking around it, you won't have success. And I'm going to show you how to do this. All right. The difference between those who have sustainable lives, profitable businesses, successful businesses is not that they have it easier. It's because they've learned how to manage their mind around all the huge challenges that will come up even daily. So let me jump into the first part here about brain management. What I love about running my own business, of course, is the freedom I get. But I really do love this life that is super demanding of me mentally. Once I learned how to manage the demanding life, then I've learned to actually love it. And I hope you'll get to that place too, where you can love the challenge of knowing that you can create a bit more success in your life if you become more disciplined and more focused. And you'll learn, like I know, without a doubt, that if I want a better life, I've got to embrace those difficult things. And now today, I love that challenge. And it wasn't always that way. Before I learned that, I had to learn how to manage my brain because I would look at challenges as thinking something's gone wrong. I've done the wrong thing. I'm going down the wrong path. I don't look at it that way now. I've learned that I have to welcome those challenges. So creating a business, a life that's sustainable for you and your family, totally dependent on how you manage your brain. First up, you're going to want to learn how you are motivated mentally and emotionally. I hear from a lot of my students who at first say they don't feel motivated to do certain things they know they should be doing in their days. They know that maybe they should be spending more time on the things that are actually bringing in money in their business, like meeting people or marketing or reaching out to people. But they tell me they don't feel motivated to do those things because there's so many things. So then they get distracted. They find themselves just going into Facebook groups or being on social media or scrolling on their phone, distracting themselves. And they report to me that they just don't feel motivated to go out and do the things to find the new customers or take the steps to raise their prices. So they don't do it because they don't feel motivated. Or maybe they tell me they're faced with an opportunity that they don't follow up on because they don't feel motivated. Something stands in their way. What I want to tell you, though, is that you actually have complete control over feeling motivated. It's not something that happens to you. It's not something you wait for. You got to learn how to create motivation. Yes, you have control over it. So learning how your brain is motivated means you can finally stop fighting against the desire to be motivated, even though you don't know how. And you'll be able to move to a place of finally knowing, without a doubt, how to create motivation on the spot when you want it, when you need it. It's not easy. It's hard, but it's definitely worth it. And it's hard because you're retraining your brain to think in a different way. You will learn to be able to move to a place of finding it very natural and very automatic to create motivation inside of you consistently. It's what you're going to need to do to build this sustainable business. So here's what's going on in your brain. Our brains are wired to behave a certain way in our world. And you knowing how your brain is wired is so eye-opening. It'll shed some light on why you haven't felt motivated in the past or why it might be a struggle for you. The part of our brain that's wired for survival is wired to do just 3 things to assure we stay alive. And it's in charge of doing these 3 things all day long. That's its only job. This is the part of our brain, the amygdala. It is constantly sending you messages to, number 1, seek pleasure, number 2, avoid pain, and number 3, preserve your energy. Or to put it in another way that might make it easier to understand, this means that your brain is constantly telling you things like, eat all the food you can eat all the sugary sweets you can eat, or the processed food. It's so good. It's so rewarding. Look for pleasurable things that give you a dopamine hit to feel better instantly, like that sugar, or scroll on your phone or see how many likes you got on your latest social media post. And Your brain's telling you to take a rest, take a break, do it tomorrow, do it next week, or do it not at all, give up. So if you've been struggling because it seems so much more enticing to have a snack and take a break and scroll on your phone rather than send that email about your price increases or post that event and face rejection or confusion or doubt, this is not because something's gone wrong with you. It's not because you're lazy. It is because your brain is functioning perfectly as it's wired to do. Isn't that crazy? I remember when I first learned that, it just explained everything. Our brains are wired to function that way. But if you want to create a successful life, successful home, successful business, you've got to learn how to manage that part of your brain so that you're not constantly giving into this motivational triad of seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and preserving energy. So although your survival part of your brain is operating normally when it motivates you to do these three things, in today's world, those things are actually working against us because today our world is so easy to survive in, but our brains still work like it's not. We don't need our brain constantly telling us to go find food because food is everywhere, but that's still the message it sends. And instead of surviving, survival is actually so easy today in our environment that it ends up that we're not achieving the things we want to do. So if you couldn't figure out, why am I stuck just doing the same thing day after day? Why am I not going after my dreams? Why am I not becoming more disciplined or calm or organized or fulfilled? It's just because you're succumbing to that part of your brain. And our reality today, running a successful life and business, is actually the exact opposite of all these messages your brain is driving you to do. It's driving you to find immediate pleasure, for example. But in order to live a fulfilled life, in order to create a business, you have to learn how to put off pleasure. And guaranteed, starting and running a business does not provide immediate pleasure. As a matter of fact, it provides immediate pain. The pleasure of having a successful business can take years to get to. It's going to be a ton of hard work, a lot of stress emotionally, physically, mentally, stress in every way. So you got to be willing to go against what your brain is wired to tell you and know that pleasure will come years from now, possibly, or in other ways, but not from your business at first. And number two, starting and running a business brings up a lot of pain in the form of discomfort. Like I said, also physically, emotionally, and mentally, it is difficult because you've taken up this hard challenge. Even things you don't think of as hard, such as when you are running a business, you're often going to be faced with making decisions daily. But do you know that your brain sees decision-making as hard work? So if you don't learn to manage your brain, you'll give in to this constant message of this is too hard, and you'll sit in confusion, which doesn't get you anywhere. And your brain is okay with you sitting in confusion because it sees decision-making as hard work. So confusion is kind of a rest for your brain. So it's not productive. It's not getting you anywhere, but your brain thinks it's okay because it gives you a little rest. You don't have to make a decision. And lastly, part 3 of the motivational triad, since starting and running, creating a business is the opposite of being efficient because everything is new and cumbersome and you have to learn it. And you have to try to learn new things and you have to fail. It requires lots of brain energy. Your brain is just screaming at you not to expend the energy. Remember, it wants you to preserve your energy for your survival. So therefore, if you decide, or when you decide to up-level your life, perhaps, so it's more fulfilling or more balanced, or you decide to start a business, or maybe you already have a business, but it's not profitable yet, or not as profitable as you want, what's going to happen is the survival part of your brain sees this as a dangerous threat to your survival because you're going to expend lots of energy. You're going to experience tons of pain through doing hard things every day that aren't any fun, or they're downright terrible, and it will go on for years. So just know when you decide to take on any of these new challenges in life, your brain is going to tell you day in and day out not to do it. And that's okay. It's all normal. It's what you have to go through to up-level your life or your business. What you're going to have to do, though, is learn how to manage that part of your brain that's constantly telling you to shut things down. It's too hard, okay? You're going to have to learn to manage it and live with it and know that it is going to come up. It is going to happen. That's going to tell you this is too hard. You should just give up. And the clients I work with who achieve huge success in their life and their business, which means it's fulfilling too, not just profitable, but huge success without fulfillment is not really success. People end up making themselves sick. So those who do achieve success and fulfilling lives, they know that something being hard and painful is never a reason to quit. Our work, when I work with clients, it's hard work. We work so hard in our coaching sessions so that they can learn to manage that part of their brain that wants to see all the logical reasons to give up. And they learn how to be able to keep going, believing success is on the other side of all that pain. And it's not immediate. It's going to take time. So now let's talk about what's going to happen when you decide to incorporate some changes in your life or create a business or grow your business. Here's what I can promise you will happen. You'll be faced with a lot of new experiences every day, which of course freaks out this part of your brain because all these new things are inefficient. And remember, in this part of your brain that's wired for survival, it hates inefficiency. Doesn't like inefficient things. It wants everything to be habitual and put on autopilot. And new things are not yet on autopilot. You got to create new habits, new ways of thinking. So that part of your brain sees it as a threat. And you'll have a huge hurdle to get over just to be able to manage this part of your brain. But it's something you got to do if you want to grow and build your business. Now, when you are up-leveling your life, creating a business, expanding your business, you will be faced with lots of failures. And failure, I like to call failure is just feedback. It's just feedback that this way didn't work exactly right, and we need to do it a new way. But our brain sees failure, if you haven't learned to manage your mind, as something that is very painful. So when you fail, it screams at you to stop. Not only that, you probably beat yourself up if you fail because you start this self-sabotaging talk thinking failure, because a part of your brain sees failure as certain death. So it's not logical. Of course, it's not logical, but it's all you know. So you're getting all these messages that, oh, you failed. You didn't make as many sales this week as you had thought. So therefore, you better give up. This isn't for you. Or people will complain about your price and you think you shouldn't have increased your price. See, you're not doing it right. These are messages that are going on inside your head because you haven't learned how to manage that part of your brain that's acting totally normally. All right. These failures can be small failures, like maybe you didn't get very many likes on your latest social media post, or they can be huge failures, like you lose a crop, or you lose an animal or animals, or someone complains about the CSA and wants their money back, or you accidentally burn down a building. Seriously, this part of your brain experiences all failure, or threat of failure, as life-threatening. And again, if you don't learn to manage it, you'll not be able to reach your goals and your dreams because you'll be giving into these messages of, it's not working like you want, so you better quit, give up. Now, if you saw my recent coaching call with April, that was episode 35. She was fighting with her brain to create structure because she knew logically that she needed more structure to get more things done in her day. But during our session, when I was coaching her, She learned how to do that with ease instead of the battle she had been having in her mind, which led her to not having any structure very much at all. So if you watch that session, episode 35, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. She started out thinking that creating structure was hard, it was impossible, it wasn't working, she was failing, and with lots of thoughts like, telling her it's the last thing she wanted to do. In that session, you see her build the skill right in front of you, being coached to a point of being able to create structure with ease and 10x her productivity. You guys, I see this every day with people I'm coaching once they learn how to manage this part of their brain. Now, one more thing you'll be faced with when you decide to do this kind of work in your business or your life is a lot of confusion. I read about this almost every day in the Facebook group. I get emails, messages. A lot of people are saying, I don't know how, or I don't understand how to do this, or I don't see how this will work. That will also be a constant message when you start something new. So you need to learn how to manage that so that you're not exhausted, because confusion, thinking you don't know how to do something, is exhausting. And you're going to need endless energy to deal with these challenges you've taken on in life, which means you will need to learn to be very decisive and not allow yourself to indulge in confusion. Confusion doesn't move you ahead. Confusion is what I call an indulgent emotion. Your brain thinks it's real. It thinks it's important, but it's not. You actually never need to choose to be confused, because you're not really confused. You're just not making a decision. You're indulging in confusion, taking a little break mentally. Not making a decision means you haven't decided to go do something that's going to take some work or some focus. So it's being confused is your brain's way of telling you to stop and to quit and to make things easier. Remember, it wants life to be not require energy. So confusion is something you're going to want to learn to overcome and not sit in it in the future. And two more things you'll be faced with when you decided to up-level your life or business here. You're going to have to deal with a ton of rejection. And I can tell you this, I promise you this, the bigger you get, the bigger the rejection gets too. And the more it comes. So if you're small now, a small business, you want to look at that as a good thing, because your rejection is a lot smaller, and it actually is what builds you up to be able to handle the big rejections. So you don't want to use rejection by others as a reason to think you're not doing it right or you should give up. Rejection doesn't go away. Like I said, it gets bigger. And of course, your brain sees this as dangerous and life-threatening. So learning how to manage that, to just know that the rejection is there and it is a normal part of up-leveling your life, is something you're going to want to develop. We're not born knowing how to deal with rejection because our brain thinks that rejection is life-threatening, because we need to be part of a community. We need to be connected so that we survive. And rejection means we're not acceptable and our life is at stake. And rejection can be a feeling that you get when you look again at a social media post, because I hear this a lot, that just wasn't as successful. You didn't get as many likes as you thought, or you didn't make any sales from it, and you feel that immense feeling of rejection. That's your brain functioning normally. Our brains are, this survival part of our brain is kind of like a software program that's outdated, but it's still working on overtime. And the update to that software program is exactly what I'm teaching here. You've got to learn to manage it with your decision-making part of your brain, your cortex, which means if you want a more successful, fulfilling life, you'll need to move to a place where you don't try to avoid rejection. Okay? And I know that's really hard, but you're going to want to learn to embrace rejection. You will know that the worse the rejection is, the more you're actually growing. So you'll want to learn to be open to rejection because it's a normal part of improving your life and improving your business. Okay, lastly, when you set out to create a business or improve your sales or build more profit or do anything new in life, you're going to be filled with fear and doubt. And most people think something's wrong when they have so much fear and doubt about new things, but it's actually part of the process. So again, you're going to have to decide to embrace fear and doubt and manage it. Otherwise, you'll just give up. And a lot of people think that being filled with so much doubt and fear means that they're doing it wrong. But get this, it means you're doing it right. Then what happens is when they feel the fear and doubt, most people try to get rid of it or resist it, bury it, which means whenever you bury an emotion like fear and doubt, it's only going to grow bigger. It's going to keep coming back. So I've talked about this before on the podcast. Any emotion you resist just stays with you. It gets bigger and worse. So if you're wondering why you wake up with doubt, and then every night you still go to bed with doubt, and a little bit of hard work makes it dissipate for a little bit, chances are you're resisting it instead of welcoming it as a welcome part of the process. Maybe you've heard me talk about how 50% of our life is most likely going to be some negative emotion. And negative emotion 50% of the time is not a bad thing. I want you to know this. It is a part of being human. It's the human experience that 50% of your life will be negative. The challenge that we have, the problem we have is we've been sold this line of goods in our society that we're supposed to be happy all the time. You see it everywhere. If you're not happy, just turn on TV and you can take whatever pill of the week is on there, or eat whatever food, or do whatever thing, or buy whatever the latest Spanx are that will make you happier for sure. So we're sold this message that we're supposed to seek happiness. Once you learn to accept that life is 50-50, 50% happy, 50% negative emotions, wow, then you realize that, fear and doubt, confusion, rejection are just part of the 50% negative. Then what happens is you become more willing to put yourself out there and be okay with the discomfort of it all. You find that you're more willing to go after your dreams because 50% negative is just a fact. And you know that the positive is always on the other side of it. And it's so fulfilling when you become willing to experience the 50-50 of life. Now, a lot of people will struggle because they come to me and say, I don't think this will work. I feel a lot of doubt because I've never done this before, they'll say. And then they'll think that if you've never done something before, I tell you, of course you're going to doubt that you're not able to do it properly. So again, it's a normal function of your brain that you doubt it. But what I want to share with you is you will want to learn to shift your focus off the fact that you've never done it before, but to the future. You want to shift your focus to the future. And what I call this is borrowing success from my future. So maybe I say something like, I'm figuring this out. I'm learning how to do this. Instead of saying, I can't do this because it's never worked in the past, I tell myself, I'm learning how to do this right. I will get this right. It doesn't matter that I've never done it right before or never done it before. I'm figuring it out. And I'm going to do it even though I have no idea how it's going to work out. And again, this is scary to talk this way to yourself for that survival part of your brain. It wants to send you messages like, that's an unknown thing. The future's unknown. All you have is your past. So it tells you to run from the future and stay really small. This is what happens is you stay really small. You never reach your dreams because you only look for evidence from your past. If you can do something, then this is often a point where people give up. But what happens then is you're out of integrity with yourself. You broke a commitment to yourself. So you're actually reinforcing the behavior of quitting because you made a commitment to try something. You didn't learn how to manage your mindset around it. So you think it's easier to give up. Then what happens, you just reinforce this habit of giving up. All right. A lot of people come to me because they start things, but they don't finish them. This is habitual behavior. It's not a personality trait. None of these things are. Everything I'm talking about in here are learned skills. All right. Remember that successful people don't have easier lives. It's just that we've learned how to embrace pain and confusion and rejection and overwhelm, even humiliation, a lot of it, and do the thing anyway. Many people think these things like fear and doubt and rejection means they're doing it wrong and there's a right way they should be doing it instead. But I promise you, if those feelings come up, it's because you're doing it right. It's feedback to you that you're taking steps to build something or create something that you've never done before. So embrace the terrible feelings. Don't try to squash them or run from them or think something's wrong. It's actually a really good thing that you're feeling all those negative emotions. But it's counter to how your brain is set up. It's why you question it. The way to counteract this, though, the way through that river of misery, I call it, when the going gets tough, the way to get through it is knowing that a fulfilling and sustainable life, profitable business is on the other side of it. And be able to hold on to that. And how you do that is you've got to have a very strong commitment to why you're doing this. You got to know, why are you doing this no matter what happens? What is your big why? Because this journey we're on of where you're going to change your life, you could change your business or create a business, or maybe you need to raise your prices. Whatever it is you've set out to do, this journey will bring you so many horrifying, stop in your tracks things that will feel terrible. Someone will say no to you. A lot of people might say no to you. A lot of people will reject you. People will tell you it's a bad idea, or they'll say, why are you doing this? Or they'll say, who are you to do this thing? Or tell you your prices are too high. Or guaranteed, you'll make a mistake in your emails or your marketing or your social media posts, okay? And then you'll be embarrassed. You'll feel worthless. Like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not cut out for this. This isn't for me. I can guarantee you're going to feel this way about half the time. And so then you're like, well, who wants to sign up for that? Who wants to sign up for a life of feeling terrible, rejection 50% of the time? That's what you have to learn to be able to do if you want the most fulfilling life you can ever imagine having. And mindset management makes it so much easier. It's a matter of telling yourself, of course I'm feeling this terrible thing, and that's okay. The thing that helps you to be able to do that is to know, what is your big why? What is a thing that no matter what happens, you're going to keep doing this? Then what happens is when you focus on your big why, nothing else matters. Those negative emotions don't matter as much. You can get through them. You can acknowledge them, accept them, feel them, and move on with ease because you're headed toward a much bigger why in your life. That's what it takes. You've got to be committed to creating this business no matter what. If you don't have that commitment and that big why, you won't get there. If you have a no matter what reason, none of those rejections or failures or confusion or doubt will ever stop you from achieving this goal. So know your big why. What is your big compelling reason for doing this? All right, so to wrap up, learning to accept that the way your brain is motivated is working against you, but deciding to move ahead on your goals and your dreams anyway is the most difficult work you will do in your life, but it's the most fulfilling way to live, I promise you. If you're trying to create a business and a more fulfilling life, and you're struggling with feeling doubt or confusion or rejection or failure, that's okay. It's actually a great thing, means you're doing it right. So sit down, take some time, decide your big why, and sign up for a coaching call. This is the fastest and most thorough way for you to learn this skill. Let me help you learn how to manage your brain so that you can reach your goals and dreams with so much more ease and so much less stress. All right, you can always schedule a free session to help you decide on coaching. That's at 3cowmarketing.com/strategy. I would love to help you. So much in today's episode. You might want to re-listen because there are a lot of gems in here that will make your life so much easier. And like I said, it's part one of a several part series. So let me help you make sure and ensure your business success. All right, you guys, see you on a coaching call. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. For more great resources, check out theprofitablemindset.com. See you next time.